Hello, my name is Ernest. I work here at Rise Up Recovery, and I am in a couple of weeks going to be heading out on an epic mountain bike journey, biking from Banff, Canada, all the way 2,700 miles to the Mexican border. And I'm doing this ride for awareness around recovery and sobriety, and also just to bring glory to my higher power, my God. And so, as I've been planning for this, a lot of people have had questions around the trip and what it's going to look like. So we put together this video earlier this week, just answering some of those questions. So sit back and enjoy the conversation.
Welcome back, everybody. This week we are doing a very fun and very looked forward to Q&A video with Ernest about the trip. Anything you want to say before we get started?
Just that I'm excited about this. I'm curious to know what you guys are curious about, and hopefully I can answer all the questions.
All right. And before we get fully started, I'm Michael. I also work alongside Ernest here at Rise Up Recovery, and I've been doing the video editing for most of the project so far. So let's get this kicked off. The first question we have is from an anonymous viewer who asks, how does the Great Divide bike trip compare to other bike trips that you've done in the past, if you've done any?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there's a great question. The biggest difference is the length. I've done week-long bike trips, and most of those were primarily on pavement. I've done a lot of mountain biking, but never overnight. Now I'm combining those two. These will be mostly gravel roads and Forest Service roads. And 60 days is way longer than anything I've ever biked on a trip.
All right. So the next question we have also comes from another anonymous viewer who asked, will you be doing this bike trip again in the future, or will this just be a one-time thing?
Yeah. You know what? Initially, I'm just thinking a one-time thing. I would love to do it again. And if it's something that becomes meaningful and has an impact for people, I could see doing it again and maybe taking others with me. So I'm open to it. Absolutely. I have no plans beyond just this August 1st right now.
Great. This next question we have actually comes from myself. The question is, how did you discover your passion for biking, and did that passion influence your recovery journey?
Wow, that's a deep question. How did I discover my passion? You know, I would have to say, and I think I shared this in a previous video, that I get that from my dad. He loved the outdoors. We've done a lot of backpacking trips, canoeing trips, all multi-day type things, cross-country ski trips up in the mountains, and again, overnight sleeping in snow caves. And so, that sense of adventure definitely comes from him. He biked to work almost every day of his life. So back in the 60s and the 70s, before it was cool, he was biking to work. And so, that passion for biking also comes from him. So that's where that came from. What was the second part of the question?
Oh, it was if that passion has an influence on your recovery journey.
You know, I would say it does, because it's been really important for me to have those times where I could go out, be in nature, and that's the piece that I enjoy the most, is just being outdoors in that creation that God made. And so having that is almost like a reset for me. And so that is a way that's helped me with my addiction and mental health issues, is being able to spend time really renewing and finding that peace and comfort that I can get out in nature.
Absolutely. I think that's awesome. Our next question comes from Abby, and she asks, "Are you worried about getting lonely on the trail, especially without your daughter to play board games with?"
Abby is my daughter. And that is one of my big worries about this trip. So I'm going on my own and I'll meet people on the trail. I know that there will be others biking the same trail and I'm hoping I can connect with them or even other people along the pathway. But I am not a strong extrovert, but I am extroverted and I do enjoy people. I can get lonely even in my own house when my wife and my daughter and are not there. And so that is a concern for me. Um, when I am by myself, I'll probably these videos will help. I'll be doing videos every day, just short updates, but also just recognizing that my God goes with me and wherever I am not alone because he's there with me. And so those are two things that I think will help me with that. And I'll be in cell phone service fairly regularly. I can call home whenever, not whenever I want to, but often enough. So there's that as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Abby, for the question. Our next question comes from Alicia from Minnesota. And she asks, "How do the stages of change reflect your pedal for recovery journey?"
Wow. Okay. Now I got to remember the stages of change. Well, the big thing, the pre-contemplation, it was something that I, looking at, I wasn't ready to do this trip and wasn't really thinking it was a possibility. But that changed when I talked to my supervisor, and she got all excited about me going on this trip to raise awareness around recovery. And so that moved me into contemplation and then into preparation. And that's kind of where I've been for the last 4 months or so, preparing for this, both mentally, physically, getting the right gear, all of those things. And also these videos, just getting the word out. Because again, the message has got to be that recovery is possible and that God is really important in recovery. And so it has to be about that. So getting that message out and I guess, the action piece is coming, although preparation feels a lot like action as well. And so that's the stages that I've seen as I go through this journey. And again, the action is really still before me. But that again, my own recovery journey, that started really early on, back in my 20s. And so the pre-contemplation, contemplation, all of those have been a part of my journey. And I've been in the maintenance phase for a long time. And there's been a little bit of this where I've had to go back to some of the preparation and action phases and spend some time in the action phases, but mostly it's been maintenance. And that's probably what'll be as I go on my journey on the Great Divide as well, is there will be necessary maintenance, to my bike, to my mindset, and possibly to my body as well as I, do maybe exercises or stretching, those kind of things to just help me keep on moving forward.
All right. The next question is from an anonymous viewer who asks, "Will you be taking any days off during the trip? And if so, what will those days off look like?"
Okay. Yeah. No, good question. So my plan is to have a rest day every 7 to 10 days, a little bit more in the areas where there's more climbing. And then there's always the possibility that either, sickness or weariness or rain might cause me to have another day off. So those are the potentials, but I definitely will be taking them off every 7 to 10 days. And It'll probably be in a place where there's, in a town or near a town. I might even get a hotel room or something, a motel, something, other than my tent, um, and get a shower. So that would be I'd probably be doing showers, washing clothes, just planning the next section, doing a lot of resting, maybe taking in the sights, a little bit of the whatever's going on in that town, connecting with people. One of the things I do hope I get to do is maybe connect with different churches or recovery organizations in some of these towns, and just connect with them, maybe go to a meeting or two. I'd love to be able to do that. And so that'll be something I'll be looking for as we go along as well. But that's kind of what a day off would look like:
Great.
relaxing, hopefully, and a little bit of opportunity for renewal.
Yeah. Everyone knows you'll need that during a trip this long.
Yeah.
All right. The next question we have is from another anonymous viewer who asks, what might a daily schedule look like on this trip?
Okay. It's probably going to be pretty boring, which is another trigger for me. So that's another piece that in my recovery, I'm going to have to look at and manage. But I will wake up probably fairly early. I'm generally an early riser. Um, the first couple of things would be making breakfast, some coffee, and I have a little stove that I'll be able to do that on. Breakfast will probably be, I'm hoping I can get some hard boiled eggs or boil some eggs and just take those with me every couple of days. Um, but it might be also possibly some granola or cereal of some sort. Then the next thing would be to pack up my sleeping gear, my tent, and any other things and get them put on the bike. And then the next 5 to 10 or 12 hours will be cycling. And when I mean cycling, there'll be lots of breaks, to take pictures, to enjoy the landscape. I'll be stopping in towns pretty regularly, probably not every day, but I'll pass through towns on a consistent basis. And so I'll need to replenish my food, water. Part of the day, and this will probably be in the evening, would just be after I set up my tent, planning out the next day or the next few days, looking at where my resupply points are, and just staying ahead of the trip so that I know I'll have enough water, I know I'll have enough food, and that'll be really important. Just knowing when my next resupply point is. Will it be a day? Will it be 4 days? I don't think it'll ever be longer than that. But if it's 4 days, I better have that food and water with me. So that'll be the evening part of the day. Hopefully, during the day, I'll run into people, and my intention would be to stop and connect and make some friends along the path. So that pretty much covers what the day would look like, I think.
Awesome. I love the attention to detail with the being proactive as far as the getting your resources together goes as well.
Yeah, well, and just tying that to recovery, recovery does not happen just happenstance. You gotta be proactive. You gotta take the initiative. You gotta take steps and plan those steps. And I've always found that really important in my life, just with where am I going in my life? What's important to me? And being able to make choices and decisions intentionally so that life doesn't just happen to me, but that I can be proactive and make decisions and then follow through on them.
Great. And that leads us into our final question for the video, which is also from an anonymous viewer from Minnesota who asks, what are some words of encouragement that you would give to somebody who's just beginning their recovery journey?
Well, the first and foremost word of encouragement I would give is that recovery is possible. Many, many people have recovered and are living productive, fulfilling lives after addiction. And so that's the biggest encouragement that I can give. I see it in so many people that work here at Rise Up, the people that we work with. You know, many of them have moved on to and are living those lives that I'm not going to say they're wonderful, perfect lives, but they're productive. They're part of society. They're serving others, and have found a peace. And so those would be the encouragements that I would give, all based around recovery is possible. And so,
I think that's a great note to end on. Well, thank you for your time answering all of these questions from
yeah.
our fantastic viewers.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to touch on before we conclude?
Well, I guess what I'd say is let's rise up, recover, and pedal forward together.